Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 182 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services right here in downtown Gastonia. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We have another great guest today. I'm very happy to have Dr. Will Current on the podcast today, who is the owner of Current Dentistry here in Gastonia, a fellow Rotarian, a previous MLK Unity Award winner, and a very long-time friend, long enough that I'm not going to mention how many years. That might give away how much older I am than him. Will, great to have you on the podcast.
It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So, as usual, we're going to get right to it. So I'm really interested to hear about Will's professional journey, his leadership journey, his community service journey, which knowing Will for so long, I know a lot about that, but I'm sure many of our listeners do not. So tell us first, just tell us a little bit about yourself, anything that you'd like to share, except your time in Chapel Hill.
So, born and raised in Gastonia, and family's been here several generations. Married to Suzanne. We have 4 boys together. Jack,
God bless her.
Yes, indeed. Jack, Henry,
I know them
Tripp,
all,
and George. Yes, there's plenty of personality in the house.
Absolutely, that's terrific.
It's always exciting, and faith's a big part of life. So. Yeah. Just as with you, child of God, broken, big sinner, and trying to figure it out.
Working on it.
Every day is a work in progress. So, dentistry was around it as a kid. Again, 3rd generation there, and we just had a big snow. So it's kind of crazy to think of the times as a kid when we seemed to have them more frequently. Of going up to the office,
it seemed like
emergency.
Yeah, it seemed like we did have it more frequently.
Yeah. So I remember as a boy going up to the office with Dad and helping him out in those times to take care of somebody. So anyway, professional calling there, and that's
kind of our next question. Typically, what inspired you to follow that professional path? Was that just simply it?
It is
the family.
Definitely the family's a piece, and having access to see it, but it is a gift and a privilege to take somebody who is in pain and be able to alleviate that, and to earn that trust. My little surgical glasses I wear, they're set at 18 inches. So if you think about that, I'm 1.5 foot into somebody's face, and they're on their back.
I've experienced that.
Yes,
just a couple of weeks ago, most recently.
Yeah, and they're exposed and vulnerable and all that. It's a big thing, and so to have that trust from people and to try to earn it, it's a privilege. And Dad, is always one of make sure it's a profession. It's not an occupation. It's a profession.
Right.
And that's different. And so it's something that I enjoy doing. I lose myself in it. And so, when you get to do for a living something that you can get lost in, like you're a kid playing Legos or something, it's a privilege. So.
Well, try to avoid making these commercials, but I am a patient of client, maybe is a better word, of Will's, and I will tell you, I went to, there's nothing against a previous dentist I saw for many, many years, but it was like going from, I don't know, Tombstone to Westworld or something. Well, I mean, as far as the experience and the technology, and it's so, again, I'll just leave it at that. And you obviously take it, you do take it very, very seriously and professionally. Real quick, you mentioned 3rd generation. Just I got to touch on this. Take us back to the 1st generation real quick, from that to now.
All right, I'm going to be self-indulgent.
Okay.
Because I think it's the coolest stories. Granddaddy was raised up Iredell County, Statesville area, and he was raised on a farm, and the expectation was he'd grow up and midway through school or so, drop out and work on the farm. So he had a paper route, and they were poor. And he would run that paper route, and he had a little bike that wasn't in great shape. And he had saved up his money and was going to get a new bike. Lo and behold, he has a tooth start bothering him. So the day comes, he's going to go into town to get his new bike, and that tooth had really kicked up. So by the time he gets to town, he's got to make a decision. He's like, I can go to the dentist and get my tooth cared for, or I can get my new bike. And I mean, you think of the picture of a kid on a new bike, that's funny, a big deal. So he went to the dentist, and the guy was kind, and he had a good experience. And when he left, he got home, and he said, I want to be a dentist.
Wow. And
his parents said, that's absolutely ridiculous. So
what's this time frame? Do you know?
This would be in the probably 15.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So at 16 years old, he put himself on a train, rode to Atlanta, enrolled at Atlanta Southern, which is now Emory University.
Okay.
And had a program where you could do a little college and then go straight into dental school. And he paid his way through dental school by doing the lab work for all his classmates. So at night, when they went out to dinner and did things, he was up there making castings and doing all those little wax patterns and things you have to do. Back then, didn't have near the technology we have, and he got good. And I mean, I've got some of his old stuff that's just head scratching.
Oh, wow.
It's unbelievable. So anyway, that's
with a little different technology than today, huh?
I mean, very different, but
more like an artist than a
absolutely. And he was a world-class woodworker.
Okay.
Our family heirlooms, furniture he made.
Oh, wow.
Lots of inlay and carvings and things. So he was really amazing with his hands. So lost Dad 2 years ago, and we've been going through the house. And so we're finding all these old artifacts and things.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm in the middle of going through all this stuff, so it's really fresh.
Sure,
and,
man, I get it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Just but you do have so many times that pops up. You're like, golly, I wish I could ask a question right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's hard to believe. Yeah, Dad's this will be 8 years this year.
Yeah.
I mean, God, yeah, it's hard to fathom. So, so transition from your grandfather to your dad.
So, okay, granddaddy, he finishes up.
Okay.
He had a cousin here in town who was a Bryant. And his cousin said, we need some dentists in Gastonia. We're hurting. So that's what made him decide to come to Gastonia. So then we're going to fast forward to 1960. And Granddaddy had gone out to the American Dental Association meeting in California. Can't remember which city, but I think it was San Diego. Anyway, he came back, and then my Uncle Lacey, also a dentist, and Grandmama were going to drive across the country. Granddaddy had come back early. He decided to go up and see the family in Statesville. He was going into the sun on 74, and a truck was stopped in the middle of the road. He was blinded by the sunlight, lost control of Volkswagen car McGee, and was killed instantly. And so Dad was finishing up doing a couple years in the Navy in the dental corps. And so he was up at Virginia Beach, did not plan to come back to Gastonia, but he felt like he needed to be here for Grandmama. So that's when he came back. And so he and Uncle Lacey decided to split the practice in half so that they could remain brothers. and
I feel you.
Yeah. So I think y'all divided this thing.
It is,
two divisions.
That's exactly right.
Anyway, that's how they made it work. And so I still practice next to my cousin Daryl, and we talk about it every day.
That's awesome. All right, so we know the inspiration, and give me this just real quick, the specific journey for you from Ashbrook High School to today. I was kiddingly leaving out the part about, that trip up northeast from here a little bit.
So graduated from Ashbrook, 8 years of absolute heaven in Chapel Hill. Yeah. And you too could have just driven, 30 minutes.
I married into
30 minutes to the west.
I did marry into it, and I drove 30 minutes
many times.
more than once because of that.
Janet is definitely everything a Tar Heel should be. So.
Oh, well, I can't argue with that.
But went straight through, did undergrad, graduated in 94, then 98 dental school, and then did a year in Charlotte at the Carolinas Medical Center, which is now Atrium Health. But they have a dental clinic there and then an oral medicine program. So you get to do all kinds of wild stuff. It's a lot of fun. And we got to be ER docs. We'd turn our name tags around and actually go work in the ER. And you did a month of ENT, a month of anesthesiology, and just everywhere you went, you just didn't let anybody know that you're a dentist and didn't have a clue what was going on. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah,
that
was
gives you
great.
some confidence in the healthcare industry.
Yeah. Don't get sick in September when all the new residents are coming in. Do not get sick then. So,
Wow, that's interesting.
It's my tip of the podcast.
I'm not sure what to think about that, Amber. So, well, listen, it's a great story. I mean, and I'm obviously I was very fortunate enough to know your dad, and maybe even better your mom. Just great people in your family.
Thank you.
So let's talk about all this. So, what we like to talk about here is leadership lessons in community. And I've known you long enough and worked with you on different community things. But talk about the leadership lessons. We've both been fortunate, like in rodeo as an example, to be able to interact over the years with so many people. And obviously your dad, I'm sure, pushed down some of these leadership lessons. And how would you describe that journey to where you are now? Because you can't be a business owner without being a leader. You can't be involved in the community things you've been involved with without being a leader. So just, I'm kind of shifting gears pretty quick here from that legacy dentistry business to how does that, how do you view that, and what are some of those leadership lessons, and how do you view that at this point since you're 35 now?
Something like that. Being involved in the community, that's just something you did.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? That's exactly how it was kind of put to Joel and I. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it wasn't an optional thing. It was just an expectation. And certainly as a professional, you get to live a lifestyle that's very privileged, especially when you compare it worldwide.
Sure.
And there's a responsibility that comes with that. So, but I would be telling a story if I didn't say it was self-serving at a level too, because I mean, the gratitude and appreciation you get through service is so tank filling.
No question. Yeah. And so, I had no idea when I was younger that that's what would happen.
Right.
I mean, I didn't realize that how much I would get out of it.
Yeah. You ever heard the cycle of the gift?
I don't think so.
So,
specifically,
sort of my grand mentor, he would describe it this way. He would say, a gift or a service is provided, and when that gift is extended, somebody has to receive that. Right? It's just dangling until somebody receives it. And then once somebody receives it, they have to acknowledge they've received it, which in turn is a gift back. And then when the person that gave the original gift receives that, then the cycle's complete.
Right.
And so proud dad moment, my youngest George, Christmas Eve devotional wrote for church, cycle of the gift.
Oh, really?
Same thing.
Yeah, wow.
It's a gospel lesson, right? So anyway.
That's good, isn't it? I mean, to see that makes you realize, they might not be listening all the time, but they're paying attention.
Sure.
They're paying attention to what we're doing, and they're listening to those lessons, especially when we put them in those situations like at church to be around other people. Sometimes they can glean more from that than sometimes, when I'm opening my mouth. It's about who we put them in positions to be around and listen to. So you kind of touched on why, but there's plenty of businesses around Gaston County that do their thing and individuals, but they're not involved with all the things you're involved with. They're not getting. Boy Scouts is another one. I know it's been a big part of your journey in your life. So to me, Boy Scouts is just mentorship for young men. So why go to that trouble? Why spend that time? What's the point?
Well, where else are you going to spend the time? And you can spend the time doing a lot of things that are fulfilling for a lot of people, and that might be sitting outside in the deer stand. It might be watching sports, and and I enjoy doing all those things too. But there's something about in those acts of service, doing it as a community, that not only does it remind you that there's something greater than yourself, but it also reminds you that no matter the circumstances, you're not alone in this thing. And so you got to put those two together. And for me, that's real energizing. And I don't know. I've never regretted.
Oh yeah.
Time spent in service.
That's a good point.
I might go kicking and screaming sometimes. It might be hard to get there, but once you're there, you're always glad you.
Yeah, it's kind of like to me. It reminds me of the how many times I didn't want to go to an F3 workout. Boy, I never regretted it afterwards. Well, maybe once or twice.
Are you getting ready to call me out?
No, that's just something that comes to mind. Dr. Feelgood. But something like, to me too, something that makes me feel the same way is, those years I coached First Methodist Athletics and got to coach Trip on some basketball. I've still got that basketball and that banner that team signed still in my bedroom.
Awesome.
Where I can see it every single day. Too bad we weren't very good because didn't have a very good coach. But man, those kids were terrific.
Those were good times.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Looking at everything you've been involved with, everything you've accomplished, something that stands out that you're like, wow, that is, whether it's professional, church, community, Boy Scouts, leadership, whatever, anything you've been involved with, something that stands out that you're most proud of, or it might be more than one thing that you look back and say, wow, that fulfilled the purpose, or that helped fulfill the mission. Anything jump out for you?
I mean,
Is that too big of a question?
Most proud of. I mean, you gotta say your relationship, my relationship with Suzanne, and all the challenges of marriage and raising 4 boys and all that stuff. And we're entering a whole new season, and I'm proud of them. And what does life look like as empty nesters and all that stuff.
George is a senior this year, right?
He is. Yeah.
So you're about to get that for real.
So yeah.
I'm assuming he's going to NC State in the fall.
Just a little bit to the west. So I'll have 2 in Chapel Hill next year. So maybe we can go to a ball game.
Chapel Hill may never recover.
So, but I did have 1 graduate from state. So
that's right. Yeah.
So
every family has a bright light.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. He is the beacon.
Yeah.
So, but as far as community, I mean, one of the coolest things was the Rotary Garden.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
And what was so incredible about that story was that lot, it looked pretty rough, and it was overgrown, and it was being used as sort of a hangout for drugs and all kinds of things. And it's just an eyesore. It didn't represent Gastonia for what Gastonia is. So the idea was pitched to the Rotary Club of, hey, let's see if we could take that lot, cut the grass down, and throw some vegetables out there and feed some homeless people. And that thing, when it was taken to a collective of service-minded folks, morphed into what is, I think, a great asset for our town. And it went way beyond anything I ever pictured. And so many cool little stories along the way. So
that's a great point. So if you're not familiar with the Rotary Community Garden, is between Broad Street and Tony's Ice Cream. And Will, when he was president of the Rotary Club, 14, is that right? No. When were you president?
Yes. Yeah. Well, 14, 15.
Okay. He was Will was the catalyst really for making that happen. And so many things fell into place, but it's the hard work of vision of Will that made that happen. And you're correct. It's a self-sustaining organization now. And so many things like that do grow beyond our initial vision, right? But it's really it's a real. I
threw it out there, but again, that was a huge effort by a lot of people.
There was.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have started though. Somebody has to have that initial vision.
And that's what I love about our town. You know, when you throw stuff out, people will join you along the trip.
Yeah, if they can see the reason and the why and how can it help our community. I agree. And I've been lucky enough to be involved between Rotary, United Way. Gosh, I'm on the Education Foundation board at the moment. I mean, just so many things I've been able to witness. Community Foundation, whatever. Even things we've done here with people we're involved with at GSM. We do have a very giving, and I think our general attitude I've seen in the last 20 years has gone from we can't do that to why not us, more so than maybe when I was younger. It just feels different. It feels like we do have a lot of can-do people,
absolutely,
that are going to go do a lot of different things. Looking back, getting to where you are today, there's something that you would say, you know what? I mean, the exact question that we'd like to answer, what's been a key factor in your success? So something that you were like, this mentor helped me, this study I did. Sometimes it's, to your point, you used the word privilege earlier. I mean, frankly, I just got lucky with the parents I had.
Yeah. Amen.
Right. I mean, sometimes that's part of it, obviously, but something that stands out that you would just look back and say, man, that was, I'm glad I did that, or this is something that helped me get to where I am. Again,
I've been lucky to have several incredible mentors and professionally, of course, coming into a dental family and having dad, and awesome. Ron Nason is a periodontist here in town. For those who don't know, that's a gum specialist. And he came
otherwise known as Boss Hog.
Yes. F3 Boss Hog. Ron came to 5 general dentists early in our careers, and he said, hey, I'm learning a lot of really neat surgical technique. I need some people willing to go get the training to do some of the more advanced restorative work. And I will pay for you all to go take the first course down at the Pankey Institute, which is the only nonprofit teaching facility in dentistry outside of Miami on Key Biscayne. And so he paid. I mean, these courses are not cheap. And he paid for all of us to go down and get introduced to a whole nother way to practice dentistry. And I look back at that as being just this pivotal aha moment of, I learned this stuff in school, and wow, there's a whole nother layer to learn, and and how gracious he was. And I think it's worked out well for him because, he's got a team of dentists that can work with him and refer. So, I mean, that was just such a generous thing that changed the trajectory. And now, a lot of the dental names you would think of in Gastonia, and I mean, Will Kelly and I have gone through, golly, how many courses together. So, if you can go through things and kind of have a brother in arms, and then Travis Nixon was in there, Blaine Rudisell went down there, Thad Johnson. I mean, so just that changed really the whole level of care.
How can we elevate our dental care in our community?
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that part of the story. I know I'd heard you talk about that a little bit before, but not into that much detail. So how does something like that happen? How do you get connected with people like that?
Again, I mean,
it's just serendipitous.
I guess some's luck, but also I think some is being available to it.
Right.
If somebody sticks out a hand, take it. And it's easy to say I'm busy or I can't or, whatever, but.
Or I already know all I need to know. Well, a little humility.
Yeah, I guess being vulnerable enough. And, that's what learning's all about. One of my favorite lessons in dental learning was, that pit in your stomach you get, it's almost a wave of nausea when, something hadn't gone right. Learn to love that because it means you're getting ready to learn something.
Yeah.
And as you go further in your career, you'll have that happen less and less, and you're going to miss it.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, because I know that almost 33 years now, holy moly, here. Owning a business, if you're open-minded and are trying to get better, is a humbling experience.
You better believe it.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how many times I've gone, oh, my Lord, did we really not know that? Or, well, yeah, what can we learn from this? That's one of my favorite questions. What can we learn from this? We better learn from it so it doesn't happen again.
Right.
So that's that's an interesting take. You know what? And we've had the same experience with other contractors, more so across the country than locally. Contractors have a tendency not to want to share stuff locally, which I don't understand that. But
isn't it interesting when you do have those moments of where you get out on the thin ice and things don't go like you expected? If you're just honest with people and tell them,
yeah,
I mean, the amount of grace they'll extend just because you were honest.
Yeah, the amount of time, say, before 30 or 35 years old, I said I had confidence and I was comfortable saying I don't know, versus after that is exponential difference. I got to the point where I don't know, but we'll find out.
Exactly.
We'll figure it out.
Yep.
Before I didn't have enough, I don't know, confidence or self-confidence to admit that I didn't know something because, I went to engineering school. I should know all this. I had no idea what in the world was going on. No concept, no clue. It took other mentors and people to help me down that path. Isn't that kind of what you're describing, especially with having kids, Boy Scouts, helping other dentists, or just helping your? Don't you do some? Have you done some teaching yourself in the dental world?
That's kind of where the new season of life seems to be headed.
Okay.
And going and doing training, that was a big deal when the kids were little. And God bless Suzanne for not killing me. I think of leaving 4 little ones with her to go do some of that. But now, as an empty nester, it's a good time to start doing some of those and giving back.
Right.
And so you want to make sure those things you've learned and experienced kind of keep getting passed on. And yeah, we're doing. We do have a study group here in town that dentists that come in, and so that's been fun to facilitate with my primary mentor, Todd Davis, out of Atlanta, and then going down to Pankey now, and
oh wow,
and starting to do the faculty thing. So it's a full circle thing. I was actually down there about a month ago, and it was surreal.
So there's students there, and they're viewing you now like you were viewing whoever was teaching when you were a student? So you're that guy now?
I don't know that I'm that guy. They're probably more going, well, if he can do it, heck, anybody can. So I hope it's a moment of encouragement.
Well, I remember the first day I walked into Rotary, what year is this? 2026. So 25 years ago. How intimidated I was with all those people in there, like your dad.
Yes.
Not because he did anything, but he was just this community giant to me. Don Warren, Bill Lawson, Jick Garland, Dr. Wagner, Bynum, and his wife, and just so many people that they were so kind to me, made me feel so welcome, and made me feel like I belonged there. Yeah. When I first joined, I was like, I shouldn't be coming up here with these people. So 25 years later, and we got these 20 and 25 and 30-year-olds joining the Rotary Club. Are we those people now? That's kind of scary. I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way. What's next for you, your work, community? I mean, you mentioned teaching, obviously. That seems like something that might be next for you. But what's next for Current Dentistry and your family's involvement in the community? And I mean, what do you see for Gaston County going forward? And is that a fair question?
That's about 4 questions.
Well, that's how I roll here. Yeah. That's how we roll here at Gaston. It's great. Will.
I hear you. Well, let's see. Which one do we want to start with?
Just what's next for you in Current Dentistry?
Okay, we'll start with Current Dentistry then. getting back down, as I said, faculty, I mean, you start realizing, okay, there's some areas in the blocking and the tackling that we need to work on. It doesn't matter how long you do it or how good you think you are at it. I mean, you're kind of like, we've let that slip a little bit. So that's been a great time to look in the mirror and say, all right, where do we need to tighten up a little bit? So there's that piece. The technology is just coming so hard and fast, and everybody's talking about AI, and I'll mention that in a minute. But we're able to fabricate pretty much anything that's fabricated in a dental laboratory in our offices now. It's still being tweaked, and the materials are getting better and better, but the 3D printing is replacing CAD/CAM milling. So you're going to be able to do things faster, better. And to that, I'm hoping that will also make things a little more accessible for people, because dentistry, I mean, is a challenge in its cost for a lot of people. So, trying to figure out that piece. And then, I mean, I honestly believe in 5 years, you'll be able to put together a briefcase that has a power supply, a printing mechanism, and go out in the mission field of a third world country, take somebody's teeth out, scan them, and create dentures for them, right there on the spot.
Wow.
I mean, just kind of crazy to think about.
Sure.
Something that would have taken months before.
Right.
So, some of that's exciting, and maybe that'll fit into life, some of those sorts of things. We'll see if any of the 4 boys want to continue the current tradition. And so it's going to be, sort of stay full at it so that opportunity's there. And then I don't want any of them to feel pressure.
Yeah, we've tried to do the same thing. Yeah, because I didn't feel any pressure to come up here from my parents.
Right.
That's an interesting dynamic. Yeah, exactly.
And but I want to make sure it's possible.
Sure.
And so that I keep things ready. So I'm not sure if we will bring in additional team members, or we'll just kind of wait and let that play out and then make that decision. That's kind of where I'm leaning.
Yeah, Alex and Jake, Joel and my son are here. The girls at the moment don't seem to show any interest, but we'll see. But yeah, it's interesting. We're, just recently starting to really look at that, and what does that look like in the next 5 to 10 years, having our boys here and to see what happens. We're running them through the gauntlet at the moment. See what happens. So and what you just described to in that technology saying, we used to try to do these long-term plans, but man, things are changing so fast. We don't really do that anymore. We might try to look out a couple, 2 or 3 years. We used to have these 5 or 10 year plans when I first started. Now we don't even attempt that anymore, because we know it's going to change so quickly that, especially on the support side, the technology side. I mean, we're doing things now that, we just, 5 years ago, we couldn't even imagine, couldn't even think that we would be able to do. So what about, what do you see Gaston County looking like? You optimistic about Gaston County?
Very. So,
so am I, but.
Well, I mean, we're set up where we have still, I think the people here are real. You go into Charlotte, there's that, at least I have that feeling of, thank God I'm not in this rat race, and the whole just vibe of keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. Live over here, whole different pace, and yet we get to have all the amenities. Yeah. Where if you choose to fly somewhere, the airport, we can get there before most of the people in Charlotte can, and then restaurants, sports, all that stuff. And then on top of that, we have, the proximity of the mountains and Crowder's Mountain. Absolutely. And, I get out to Crowder's a good bit. So, enjoy that resource. And then, of course, beach. So, I feel like we've kind of got the best of both worlds. And, I guess the one thing I do worry about is the growth that we seem to be on the cusp of. Is our infrastructure prepared to handle it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's an issue in lots of places. But
Sure.
how many houses and apartment complexes can we actually handle with the infrastructure without it changing along with it, right?
Hey, and I've never been able to get an answer to this question. I've always like, what is the rate of growth for a town our size that is considered ideal for all that stuff to be able to keep up and to have the tax base to support it and all that good stuff? And what's the mix between commercial and residential and all that? So anyway,
that's interesting.
I'm glad I don't have to figure all that out.
Yeah, we got to be careful here. So Amber, Will and I could probably sit here and talk about kids, family, sports, Gaston County, politics, whatever, for the next 4 or 5 hours. So we get to about, over time, you just smack me, okay, and say, all right, bring it back in.
Hey, let me make a comment on the AI thing.
Okay, please do.
Because this is something that's just been in my mind lately. With internet, with social media, with all these things that have come down, I mean, the ability to get information, of course, has just accelerated more and more. And you think of what computers have done as far as a socioeconomic challenge for those that don't have accessibility to technology. And I'm wondering how that's going to play out with AI. Is that going to put those at lower socioeconomic strata at a even bigger disadvantage?
Is it going to increase the gap even further? And
then you add to that, all the dangers of AI, and I'm not talking about from robots taking over the world. I'm talking about just from accessibility to harmful information that could lead to some of the same things we're already seeing with social media, but just exponentially greater. Who's going to lead the charge in teaching responsibility and access so that those folks are not at a disadvantage and that they have the opportunity to pursue the American dream just like anybody else? So that's something that I'm sort of bubbling up.
That's interesting.
Right now.
It's an interesting thought. There's always, I shouldn't say always, but my experience so many times, the unintended consequences of technology and sometimes progress are just hard to see, and they're unknown. But there are almost always some type of unintended consequences for even things that seem great, at the current moment.
I did a little talk at the church a couple of weeks ago, and I turned on my phone to chat's instant response thing, and I put it on my clone, which basically means you've just put a bunch of information in the background, kind of about basically who you are.
Yeah.
And then started using it to talk. And then folks would ask a question. I'd say, don't ask me, ask the clone, sort of thing, and seeing how it goes. But if you've programmed that thing to be interested in the exact same things you're interested in, suddenly you've got something to talk to that's almost more interesting than anybody else in the room. So, So anyway,
is that the solution for our male loneliness problem? Is we have somebody that we can talk to with all the same interests that we have?
It may be helpful for long-term memory care or something.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Whew. How much time we got?
Yeah, sorry, I went down a rabbit hole, but known to do that.
Well, listen, you can't. There's nothing. Of course, I make these statements like they're the end all, but there's nothing that's not going to be either already impacted or isn't going to be impacted by AI in some form. And we're already. We use it here. We use large language models here every day for something. Now we're not using it nearly the level that it can be in our industry, but it's in everything that we're seeing and facing. Sometimes we don't even know it. We're like, as an example, after hours, we're not using a human answer service anymore. It's AI after 8 p.m. and it's.
Well, I hope the jokes will stay at the same caliber.
The on-hold jokes will never change.
Okay, very good.
Ever change. That's what brings everybody in. Is there anything I haven't asked or something you wanted to make sure you wanted to get across in this high point of your career here on Gaston's Great? Anything I haven't asked I should have asked? Anything you'd like to share before I got a couple personal questions that we make our guests endure.
Oh, good.
Before we finish up, but anything that you wanted to make sure you get across?
Yeah, just a gratitude that we have a community like we have, and you know, this community has been awfully good to our family. And it's whenever there has been a hardship or a loss or, everybody always rallies. And so, we're lucky to have that. And call it what you will, but I'm glad to have our tribe.
Yeah, you know what? I've had the fortune or misfortune, depending on how you look at it, to experience that community support, both personally and professionally, with loss. And you're right. When we had something dramatic happen here, believe it or not, it's almost been 5 years ago. And the community supported us in a way that I just never would have imagined, And so, that you make a great point.
Well, that comes from a genuine place of how y'all have impacted this community and how the leadership here responded. I remember that well. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's a valid point. And to your point that you made earlier about, what's the point of? I think going back to our parents, but Joel and I kind of view too is, what's the point of owning a business in a community that's serving that's been so good to us? I think it's our duty. I don't like that word, but obligation. I don't like that word either, but I mean, supporting the community that's been so good to us is just part of the mission. And
back to that circle, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You receive it, and then you figure out a way to give it back.
Yeah. All right. So, I appreciate that very much, Will. So we're going to throw a couple questions out here at you. The first question is actually normally asked about. I think you've already answered this question. I normally like to ask. This is a podcast about Gaston County, how great it is, and so from your perspective, why is Gaston County such a great place? But you've already described 3 or 4 reasons, I think. Was there anything you'd like to add to that? But you talked about the people, our location, I think you covered that one pretty well.
Yeah.
All right. So I love this question because just a couple of years ago, Will, and I might have been around occasionally at this time, but knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self? Don't hang around Stephen Long when he was 22.
If I was talking about 20-year-old self, I think I would say slow it all down. And from that, slow down the race to achieve or to, try to, it's not that I wouldn't say still try to better yourself another way, but don't slow down feeling like you need to reap any reward from it. Just take your time and enjoy the ride. And, also don't forget to turn around and celebrate. Sometimes you can get so busy trying to move on to the next thing that you forget to look back. And
yeah, that disease when we were young where it's going to be better when I get to this point, right?
Yep.
And then all right, you get a little closer, then it's the next thing and the next thing.
Next thing you know, you just wished away 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point, and I'm not sure we've heard it worded that way, so I appreciate that. From a professional leadership community perspective, who's has made the greatest impact on you?
Well, I've mentioned several mentors, right? That's got to go back to mom and dad, but beyond that, because that's almost a freebie answer. I mentioned my mentor Todd Davis down in Atlanta. Okay. Just to have somebody that.
How did y'all connect?
We connected through Panky, at a course, and then he called me after the fact and said I'm getting a small group together, and so small group learning. Ron started out in there for a little bit until we got really into just restorative dentistry, and Will Kelly. So Ron Nason, Will Kelly, so 3 of us, and then the 2 of us continued on. Will and I did, and we drove twice a year for 3 days at a time. We would go down to Atlanta and small group of 10.
Okay.
With 2 facilitators and intense learning. And it became not only technical learning, but when you're with colleagues in that kind of setting, it becomes group therapy a little bit too. I think small group learning is the best way to learn, at least for me. And I think
that's probably fair.
It's very
for
effective.
a lot of people. Yeah.
So that was how I met Todd, and his gift to me was he's always loved me enough to hold up the mirror even when it hurt for both of us.
Ooh, yeah.
I start sweating when I think about it.
Well, good. Well, that like John Gordon is somebody I follow. I read a lot of his stuff. You hear that old phrase, tough love. He actually calls it love tough, right? Yeah. Because the love first allows you to be tough with somebody because they trust you, and you can do that, and that have that accountability. Because if you don't trust somebody, it's hard to take that. It's hard to take that from someone, but it's required if you want to get better and have people around you that can help you on that path. All right, if you could have coffee with one historical person, who would it be and why?
Again, the easy answer is a Christian would be.
Yeah, you can't use that one. I know.
I know.
I knew that would be your answer first.
Yes. Well,
and rightly so.
But. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't have their list of questions, right? So, yeah. So, I'd love to sit at the table with just some founding fathers and just say, how are we doing? Where are we? Where are we doing better than you thought, and where are we off the rails? Yeah. And so maybe.
I'm reading a book right now you would probably like by Brett Baer called "To Rescue the Constitution." It's about George Washington and his influence on the country, and I'm about 2/3 through it, and they're in the middle of the Constitutional Convention. I'm not sure that's what they called it, but when they're drafting, not the Declaration, but the Constitution, it's really interesting. We think that, I think we have this vision that it was this smooth, they agreed on everything, but it was brutal discussions and disagreements, and, finally they just had to, let's go. And it's interesting, and that's a great question, though. What would they say now?
And as you mentioned, Washington. Have you ever been to Philadelphia and done a little tour of the Congressional building?
I've done part of it, yes.
Okay, so when I did that with George and I were up in Philadelphia, and we went through, and the ranger came in and was telling some stories, and one of the stories he told was when they met. And it was the end of Washington's second term.
Yeah.
And they all expected for there to be a push to do some sort of, third term.
Yeah.
And he got up there and he made the speech and where he said he would step down and nobody should ever serve longer than that. And the ranger telling that and saying there was not a dry eye in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was at that moment they realized that truly it was not going to be another monarchy. It was going to really be a representative republic, freedom.
Yeah, I just love all that stuff. I mean, there's several great books about that time period, and anyway, that we could talk about that for the rest of the rest of the afternoon. I got to go to work Monday. We're recording this on Friday. What's today? Friday the 6th. Next thing you know, we'll be like, where's Stephen and Will at? They're still
talking. Nobody's recording.
Talking about 1775 to 1800. Okay, I appreciate those allowing us to endure those couple of questions. I just love hearing from leaders and community people like yourself some of the answer to some of those questions because we've all been impacted, and I also have known that our journeys. There's always people helping, pulling us, pushing us, helping us along the path, right, to get where
Absolutely.
we are today. So,
can I turn it on you?
Oh boy, I don't know.
So how do you define leadership?
How do I define leadership? Ooh, how much time we got? Probably. Well, I think there's a lot of examples around here that I could just throw out some names that I think are good examples of that, including you. But I would say developing other leaders to standards of, morals and ethics and behaviors, and trying to bring people along to be more successful themselves from the things you've learned and mistakes you've made, and trying to build that for future leaders. I think that's the ultimate goal of good leadership, is to build other leaders. That's the short answer.
Yeah, that's strong.
We could get into a longer version of that discussion, but yeah, that's kind of the short version of how I would describe that.
Cool. This isn't mine.
Okay.
This is one I ran. My grand mentor, Rich Green, was friends with Don Clifton of the Gallup industry. He did the Gallup poll.
Yeah, okay.
Don Clifton. I think this is his definition. I'm
paraphrasing.
Yeah, doing the best I can.
NC State guy would remember it exactly, but I'll cut you some slack.
That's right. Leadership is the ability to influence behavior, one's own first, then others, for a preferred future.
Ooh. I knew the Carolina guy would say it a lot better than I could.
Pretty cool.
That is good. Yeah, it's that. What does Q Source F3 call it? It's that movement toward advantage, right? It's movement toward advantage, and hopefully an advantage that people can agree on is a good path.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's interesting how that can become subjective. This whole my truth stuff.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. Okay, sorry. Just as a disclaimer, this is the opinion of Stephen Law, not the opinion of the Gaston's Great Podcast or GSM Services.
Yeah.
All right. So, Will, this has been great, man. In all seriousness, we could talk about this all day. But any last words before we close this? I did my little book recommendation, and any last words before we close this episode out?
Well, there's a big game tomorrow night, and so go Heels. I believe
he's talking about. For those of you who don't know, he's talking about Duke and North Carolina, and who I didn't even know there was a game. I'll be doing something else. I'll be watching reruns of, I don't know, Bewitched.
Well, and Super Bowl, you can pull for UNC alum there, Drake May.
Or you can pull for NC State alum Drake Thomas, who will be on the other side of the ball, who last time they played each other, it was bad for blue. Just for the record. They did play each other back in the day.
The Wolfpack is not
very
kind lately.
You know what? I will admit, it's great to see local kids,
absolutely
being good, right? I mean, having that success. I mean, local Charlotte kid makes the big time. That's great to see, even though he went to the wrong college. Nobody's perfect. Right, Ember? Well, Will, I appreciate your time. I appreciate, just real quick, I am aware, most people may not be, but I'm aware of you, your family, the impact you've had on Gaston County for a very long time. I'm a huge fan of you, Suzanne, your boys. I've been able to interact with them over the years. It's just great. And, our kids are similar ages too, and it's just neat to see that interaction. And another thing that's interesting is when you go to your office and the dental technician is the child of one of our friends.
Yes.
Talk about feeling old.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's another interesting, and she's great.
Yeah.
I mean, really. So I just find that's another sign that we're not old, we're just getting older.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
And so let's run it back. Let's do it for 40 more.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do try to do a book recommendation or quote or something each week. And this week, within the past month or two, I finished a book called The Chair Leader. Not cheerleader, but chair leader by a guy named Chris Maleo, who is a former, he played in college football, and he was a high school coach up in the Northeast. But he hired, and I'm so embarrassed I can't remember the guy's name all of a sudden. But he hired a gentleman, I think, who had cerebral palsy. And, man, it's just a powerful story. Hired him as a coach. And It's an extremely powerful story about what's possible and the power of just and the impact people can have on others. A lot of mentorship in that book, and it's a good one. I think I heard he was a guest on one of those podcasts I listened to, so I went and got the book and checked it out. It's a super easy read, but one I would encourage you to check out if you're a sports fan and want to hear about leadership and how to impact others. So, to our listeners out there, thanks so much for taking time to listen to today's episode. Please continue to spread the word if you can about the podcast. And don't hesitate to contact us here at our email address, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We are always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us on all our social media platforms. And as Amber likes to remind me, give us a good 5-star rating. All right? 5 stars. That helps us get noticed. Thanks again to Will for being our guest today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Amber Hauser from GSM Services. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.